You thought he was done? You thought the takes were too hot to handle? You better think again. He's back with even more scorching opinions, more controversial predictions, and the kind of truth bombs that only Zain Bando can deliver. If you missed the first round, prepare yourself. This is the follow-up you've been waiting for. It's time for Zain Zinger Part 2. Another certified hit from the Empty the Bench Network. Here's your host, Zain Bando.
What's up, everyone? We are live. This is Zain Zinger Part 2 for Sunday, March 29th, 2026. Hope you are doing well on this fine Sunday morning, wherever you may be. I am in the Chicago suburbs, so depending on where you're listening, it could be really warm or really cold this morning as you close out the final weekend in the month of March, that is 2026. All right. Before we get into anything, though, this is an extension of Bando's Breakdowns. We just had episode 83 this past week. Let's go through a few quick reminders where you can find all of the social content. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the ETB Network as well as Bando's Breakdowns. You can do so at youtube.com/ETB Network, which is the host of the Bando's Breakdowns podcast. That's where all of the episodes live on a weekly basis. We have done 83 of those. You can listen to any of those episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out the show on social media at Bando's Breakdown. And of course, please be sure once again to like, follow, and subscribe. All right, let's get into the show without further ado this morning. So on Zain Zinger Part 2, it's pretty simple. We're going to be going over some fun stuff this week as well. So we're going to be going over mostly college basketball. Who is in the Final Four so far? Who is advanced to Indianapolis next weekend? Of course, those games would be Saturday and Monday, of course. And then obviously we will go over to who else can still advance to Indianapolis as of today. There's 2 games today. We'll go over brief predictions for those, and then we'll get into some Major League Baseball, UFC, and a few other things. Whatever we have time for in the next 27 or so minutes, we will get to. But without further ado, let's discuss this. Who is in the Final Four? Who is going to Indianapolis? And we have 2 teams in the Final Four. We have Illinois making the Final Four for the first time since 2005, knocking off Iowa in the Elite Eight to advance to Indianapolis. Doing so, once again, on the heels of just tremendous work on all fronts by Illinois. Amazing effort defensively, amazing effort from Andrei Stojakovic, and just a great defensive game plan by Cam Crocker and his staff for Illinois to get the job done against an Iowa team that was looking to reach its first Final Four since 1980 in Ben McCollum's first season. Illinois does so in Houston, knocking off Houston. Houston was, of course, the number 2 seed in the South region. Of course, the number 1 seed, Florida, was knocked out this past weekend, not the weekend that is ending now, but last weekend, to have Iowa advance to play Nebraska in the Sweet 16. Of course, Iowa won that game to set up the game versus Illinois. So Illinois is in, but also Arizona is in. It's their first, or its first rather, Final Four since 2001. Arizona knocked off Purdue in dominant fashion in San Jose. That ends Purdue's season short of a national championship berth. Again, Purdue was in the national championship game just 2 years ago, and now we'll be looking to search for more answers as to how Matt Painter's team can maybe get to Detroit next season. But Arizona advances by a very, very, very good young core, and of course, a bunch of freshmen that are really talented, and Tommy Lloyd as his guys rolling as well. So that is at least one portion of the Final Four. Today's games, we'll see UConn versus Duke, which of course the winner of that will play Illinois. And then of course later on this afternoon, or excuse me, I have the games out of order because the UConn Duke game, just to give you guys a firm tip time, because I don't remember myself. Let's look this up right now. UConn versus Duke. Here we go. So UConn Duke is today at 4:05. So it's immediately following Tennessee versus Michigan. Whoever wins UConn Duke, as I alluded to, will play Illinois in the Final Four next Saturday in Indianapolis. Whoever wins the Tennessee-Michigan game will play Arizona in the other game as well. And of course, the winners will play for the national championship a week from tomorrow night. So very exciting stuff there as well. That is who is in Final Four so far. Let's get into the Illinois-Iowa recap, because that is what you guys are here to listen to me ramble about for the next little bit. So I want to tell you a personal story first before we get into this. So I went to Illinois from 2018 to 2022. Okay, and these are very significant years. So Brad Underwood had just arrived at Illinois. I think it was one season before I got to campus. Okay, and in 2018, they were terrible. They won, I think it was 12 games in total. They were like 12-21 or something. But they did have a few nice wins that year. They beat Rutgers. Georgie Bashanaishvili broke a bunch of records in that game. They beat Michigan State when they were a top 10 team in State Farm Center. It was an 8 p.m. tip. That was the game when Ayo DeSumo took over and became the early legend that we now know him as. Today is one of the pillars of this Illinois turnaround. So that was the Michigan State game, obviously. And there were a couple others that year that stood out, but you kind of knew, okay, maybe Illinois has something here, kind of moving forward as they get where they're going. Well, in 2019, they had a great team. They had all this momentum going into the NCAA tournament. They had won 20-plus games. They beat Iowa in the final game of the regular season in an exhilarating finish at State Farm Center, which I was there for. It's one of the best games I've ever attended. In all my years of going to State Farm Center, it's still up there as a game I'll never forget. That was, I think, March 8th of 2020, if I recall correctly. And then, of course, COVID happened. So that wiped that season out. Then in 2021, they had all these expectations that they were a Final Four team. They're the number one overall seed, and they lost in the second round to Loyola. And that, of course, was Ayo DeSumo's final game at Illinois. He'd go on to get drafted by the Bulls. Then the next year, which was my senior year, they lost to Houston in the round of 32, which, of course, 4 years later, Illinois gets payback in the Sweet 16 by beating Houston in Houston, which is just as poetic as can be. And then finally, you go into my post-grad years. Well, my grad school year, I covered this in Des Moines, Illinois versus Arkansas, and Arkansas won. That was when Eric Musselman was still the coach. They had Ricky Council Jr. and they had a couple other guys that were really good that year. So obviously that was a heartbreaker there. And then in 2024, I didn't have an outlet to cover Illinois that year, so I barely covered them at all. I think I went to one game that year. I think it was against Colgate or something, and they won. That's the year they went to the Elite Eight in Boston and lost to the eventual national champion UConn Huskies. And then this past season, they lost to Kentucky in the round of 32, which I was also there for as well. So I've been to a couple of NCAA tournament runs now. I haven't been able to cover them in this tournament so far with where they're at. Hopefully I can cover them in the Final Four. That's still to be determined. Still some things to work out. Still waiting on a few things before I can proceed with that. But that is my intention, is to go to the Final Four next weekend. As I know it would be a regret if I didn't go. So that's kind of important. So there's that. And shout out to the 100 people that are in the stream right now, 15 minutes in. Couldn't do it without any of you guys. Shout out to 100 people. By the way, we're streaming on a bunch of different platforms today. ETB Network, YouTube channel, Bando's Breakdowns, Twitter account, Press Row, ETB Sports, MTGP, and my Twitter account as well. So we're in a bunch of places. Now we're at 100 plus people. So unreal stuff. Shout out to you guys for being awesome. You guys are really the lifeblood of this thing. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm currently doing right now by providing you these streams every Sunday, because if you don't have people to watch them, it's kind of harder to facilitate a stream if you're talking into a void. So shout out to the 103 people that are here. Greatly appreciate it. But yeah, to kind of recap the game a little bit more, because we were kind of going down that rabbit hole to do so. Let's do that. Let's go over the box score if we can. Let's pull up the final score if we can as well. Let's pull out all this stuff that we can here. So also shout out to all the Illinois fans last night. Even the people who don't like sports, even I know there were some people that, don't really follow Illinois basketball that much. And they were really excited about this too. So let's go over here and let's take a look at the press release courtesy of Illinois Athletics to advance to the Final Four. So let's do that. All right, Illinois wins 71-59, and their first game. By the way, we have a time. We have a time for this. I didn't know this, so this is breaking news to me as well. Illinois will be playing a week from. Oh, it actually is on Sunday. No. That's correct. Next Saturday, time to be determined, but they did include. I misread this. They included the Duke UConn time as the as kind of the kicker there to get people excited. All right, let's look at some quotes here from Coach. Here's Brad Underwood. He said this after the game. This group is special. We beat a really good Iowa team who just played great. Our resilience was unbelievable. Guys just kept throwing body blows, and we just kept hanging in there. Here I am, an old JUCO coach from Kansas, going to the Final Four with a group of guys that I love. I couldn't be more proud. All right, let's get more into this as well. Illinois, who improves to 28-8, outlasted Iowa in a heavyweight Big Ten bout with a plus 17 advantage in rebounding the Hawkeyes 38-21, and a plus 28 advantage in points in the paint 40-12 after a 51-51 deadlock with 7:14 remaining. The Illini outscored the Hawkeyes 20-8 to run away with the win. Iowa did not score in the final 2 minutes, while Illinois finished on an 8-0 run. Keaton Wagler turned in an All-American performance because, of course, he did with the game-high 25 points on 8 of 17 shooting. Wagler had 14 points in the second half, plus 3 assists, as he controlled the game and pushed the Illini to cut down the nets as NCAA regional champions for the first time in over a decade. As I alluded to, last time Illinois made it this far, they made it to the national championship game, losing to North Carolina in St. Louis. Yes, St. Louis, in the only national title appearance for Illinois of that decade, and their first national title appearance. It's actually a very good question. I'm gonna look at this up, because now they're in rarefied air with this. How many times? Here we go. Okay. So Illinois has been to the Final Four 6 times, with their previous time before that being 1989. And then you have to go all the way back to 1952. And then before that, 51. And then, of course, 49. So it's been several years, but Illinois has a chance to hang a Final Four banner. They will hang an Elite Eight banner next season, but they have a chance to hang a Final Four banner should it win or lose next weekend. So that's very exciting. But yeah, that's kind of the Illinois game in a nutshell. The guys played great. Huge win for them. Iowa, of course, Cinderella story. It doesn't get much better than that. Interested to see who Illinois plays in the Final Four this weekend. Again, Indianapolis next Sunday, winner of UConn Duke. Even though I have Duke winning the whole thing, I do have UConn in the survivor pool, which, by the way, my ESPN survivor pool, shameless plug for that. We are undefeated. We are 7-0. We took Arizona last night. So we're hoping for more of the same realizations here come later on this afternoon. So I'm excited about that. Let's see if we can advance in Survivor, move one step closer to the grand prize. Should be really exciting stuff. All right. Let's take a look here. Cool. Interesting. All right, cool. But nonetheless, Bill, that's kind of a nutshell of that Illinois Iowa recap. All right, moving over to UFC Seattle, which also took place on Saturday night from the Climate Pledge Arena. Main event of the evening, Joe Pyfer finishes Israel Adesanya very, very quickly. Did so in the second round. A dominant win for Body Bags, the Philadelphia native. Emotional win for Pyfer as he revealed some very troubling stuff after the fight. We're waiting to do some, let's just say, sensitive subjects, which if you know, you know. Hopefully he's doing okay in that regard. I want to be respectful to Pyfer in that, so I'm not gonna go too deeper into that, but at least he's okay now, or at least it seems that way. He's reignited himself, he's found himself again with religion, but he beat someone in Adesanya who looked like he was a unreal, unbeatable stud at 185. And this is not to take anything away from Israel Adesanya because he had a great championship run. It's one of the better championship runs in UFC history, without a doubt, winning the middleweight title twice. But it's one of those where he looked like a show of his former self. He looked good early on the feet. It looked like he was going to knock Pyfer out, and then all of a sudden, boom, he gets taken down, and all of a sudden, Pyfer has the back mount, boom, 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 fight's over, and Pyfer now 16-3 overall, one of the best middleweights on the planet at the moment, very much in the mix for a title shot. Who does he fight next? Who the heck knows? But what I can tell you is Adesanya back to the drawing board. He said he's not going to retire. He's going to keep going and going and going. I don't know. I think he needs more time off because something seems off. He might need to change. He might need to change his camp. He might need to do something because he looked off last night, especially when it got to the ground. That was really interesting. There were all finishes on this main card, which was very fun. Usually get a mix of decisions here. Let's go over some of the other results of last night's event. By the way, we did pretty well. We went 8-4-1. The only draw on the card was the second fight of the night, the Ricky Simone Adrian Yanez fight. So that's why a draw is implemented there. So 8-4-1 across 13 fights. So we did pretty good. So we've upped our record even more now. We have 67 wins on the year, which I will take. And of course, we have now 48 losses and the first draw of the year. So we'll take that. So 60, let's see here. We were 60, let's see. So 67. That was my bad. 67, 48-1 is my record going into April. So I can't complain. I have to still do how I did in March, but I think I did really well in March this month compared to January and February. I'd have to do the math on that still. I usually like to do a monthly total, so I will do that shortly following this stream. But we did pretty well. Hit on some big winners. Navajo Sterling, Casey O'Neill, Tyrell Fortune, Terrence McKinney, Belgarari, Michael Chiesa, exactly right. Submission in the first round. We got Grasso correct, and that was the last one we had. So we did pretty well. We hit on some big names, and we did pretty good. I can't complain. 17,854 was the total attendance. UFC was back in Seattle for the second consecutive year. Overall, a very, very fun card. Just an unreal card. Lots of finishes on this card, as I alluded to. Some fun stuff. We had a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight finishes. And we had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We had 9 finishes in 13 fights. You want to talk about getting your money's worth worth last night in Seattle. I think you did that and then some. I thought it was probably one of the best cards of the year, if not the card of the year, if you just like finishes, period. So I thought overall it was a good card. All right, let's move on now. The NFL kickoff dates have been revealed. We're starting on a Wednesday in September. I don't know if I love it or hate it, but what I can tell you is more football is better for the soul, in my personal opinion. When you have NFL football on your TV and it's early in September and you're away from the summer highs and the hiatus and all that, oh man, it's a fun time. But nonetheless, though, let's go over the dates from the NFL if we can, because we have the press release at our disposal. Let's grab it as we're talking. Let's do that. Let me go and find where it is. I sent it earlier this week. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? It is right here. Here it is. Okay, the NFL regular season to kick off Wednesday, September 9th in Seattle. Okay, so Seattle's week 1 opponent is not known, but it'll be played Wednesday, September 9th at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. San Francisco will take on the Rams in Melbourne, Australia on Thursday, September 10th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern from the Melbourne Cricket Ground. And let's see here. We have some international sites for the NFL this year. Where are they going? They're going to London. They're going to Madrid. They're going to Melbourne. They're going to Mexico City. They're going to Germany. They're going to Paris, France. And they're going to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil this season. We obviously don't know when yet because obviously the schedule will be revealed in May. But we do know the 49ers will be playing the Rams in Melbourne, Australia, which I'm not the biggest fan of because it's a divisional game, but the NFL is, of course, making their money, so who can really complain about that? That's not terrible, but yeah, those are the international sites, and fans can sign up for more info now for on location and stuff like that. The release goes on to say for those looking for tickets, they start going on sale Monday, April 6th, and general for pre-sale, and then public on sale tickets will go on beginning Tuesday, April 7th. So there is that for the NFL news this week. All right, let's move on to the final two topics, the final topic of the stream. The MLB was on Netflix the other day with the opener with the Yankees being featured. Just wanted to react to that really quick. Didn't really watch the broadcast, but I will say that it was a little bit weird. They had a lot of celebrities, as part of this game. And I felt like the game was more of a, it's plastered this event on Netflix instead of making the true focus the game itself. And I think that's a problem. No matter what streaming service you're on, the objective should always be the game, the game, the game, the game. It's as simple as that. It should always be about the game. It should always be about what the fans want and desire and all that stuff. And I feel like Major League Baseball did that, but didn't do that at the same time. It's hard to tell. I'm not sure, but what I can tell you is, what I can tell you is, you're gonna have to get used to it. All these streaming services, you're gonna have to get used to it. You're gonna have to get used to watching your team on various streaming services and all that stuff. So it's all, I don't know, it's all whatever, I guess. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see if it grows on people. I'm not sure. Though I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And I don't know. What I can tell you is there'll be more to come on that. That's for sure. All right, that's going to wrap up the stream, though. This has been a great stream. In the final few minutes, let's go over what is coming up for next week. So the first episode in April is here. And it'll be episode 84, and it'll take place on April 3rd, I'm pretty sure. We're going to double check that in just a second, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. And we don't know, by the way, how this stream is going to go next week with the new development of Illinois going to the Final Four. I don't know when I'll be streaming next week for this show. We may just have to do a video, just given that there's like a 98% likelihood I will be in Indianapolis. But before we pop this, let's take a look at the calendar really quick and just make sure that I have my ducks in a row. Yeah, Friday, April 3rd is that. So there we go. So let's pop it up here when we can. Here we go. So yeah, episode 84 on April 3rd at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. More to come on the episode in the coming days, but previewing the Final Four, who Illinois will play. Is it UConn? Is it Duke? We'll make our Final Four predictions because this will be the only show where we will be able to do it. As I don't know if I'll be on the national championship pregame show we're going to be doing either. That also depends on whether I'm still in Indy or not. But nonetheless, though, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. I'll be there. Wherever you get your podcast. Fun show this coming week. Could have a few guests on the show as well. Those are still being worked out. It's been a bit of a hassle to get those done, but we're still working through them. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like this should be a fun show, though. One of the biggest shows in Bando's Breakdown's history by far, and how fitting that the near 2-year anniversary is the year that Illinois is 2 wins away from winning a national title. That's pretty cool. Because when this show began, I was coming back from the Final Four, and Illinois had been eliminated a week earlier in the Elite Eight. So very exciting stuff there as well. And then finally, before we get out of here, for those of you who are joining late, or for those of you who did not join at all, please be sure to check out this replay here on YouTube or on X. You can do so immediately following this stream as well. And yeah, there you go, guys. Appreciate you. All right, and then finally, before we get out of here, I am Zain Bando. I'm a sports journalist and an ETV Network co-host. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of Zain Zinger Part 2. I greatly appreciate all of you guys and your support of the stream and this show in general, as it is a spinoff to Bando's Breakdowns that is every Friday. Again, as we just alluded to, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific as well. But yeah, overall, though, it's been a lot of fun with you guys. I greatly appreciate all of your guys' support and dedication to everything I'm currently doing at the network and all that stuff. So shout out to all you guys, and shout out to what we're doing. Shout out to all the stuff we're building, all the new shows we're doing, and all that good stuff as well. And I was glad to be able to just talk about really all this good stuff with you guys. Went over a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, so figured we would kind of wrap it there. But that's going to do it, though. Another edition of Zain Zinger Part 2. Thanks so much once again for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. For everybody here at the ETV Network, I'm Zain Bando. We'll catch you guys in a couple days. But until next week, have a good one. See you guys soon. Enjoy the remainder of the Elite Eight later today, and we'll catch you guys later. Have a good one. And if you're going to the Midwest Regional today, Michigan, Tennessee, 2:15 Eastern, 1:15 local. If you see me, I'll be courtside again. Please be sure to say hello. Never down to or never shying away, rather, from meeting new people. So if you see me, please be sure to say hello, and we'll catch you guys soon. Have a good one. Thanks, everyone.